Yes? Oh, Inspector Craig, good. Ask her to come up to room 14, will you? How are you doing, Lanson? Got it fixed up?
Yes, everything's in order. I'll plug in here, Dr. Ginsberg.
You're quite sure about this now? We can't afford to have a slip-up.
Quite sure, Doctor. It'll work a treat.
Oh, a little less formal, I think. Nurse, let's move these chairs a bit. That one there against the wall.
Yes, Doctor.
Careful, careful.
What is this?
New electrical gadget.
Oh, one of those.
The trouble with you people is you've no respect for science.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Inspector. Everything's ready.
Good afternoon, Inspector.
Yes, it's been well tested, Inspector.
It works perfectly. The least touch will make the connection. I guarantee there will be no hitch.
All right, Lanson, we'll call you when we need you. Has Nurse Cartwright got the patient ready?
Yes, Doctor. Quite ready.
Nurse Bond here is going to stay and assist me during the experiment.
Oh, good. That's very kind of you.
Not at all, Inspector. I'll do anything I can to help. I would never have gone off duty if I'd thought that Mrs. Wingfield was unduly depressed.
No one's blaming you, Nurse. But you say the others have arrived?
Yes, they're downstairs.
All four of them?
Yes, all four of them. Brian Wingfield, Emily Ross, William Ross, and Brenda Jackson. They can't leave. I've posted my men.
You must understand, Inspector, that the well-being of my patient comes before anything else. At the first sign of collapse or undue excitement, any indication that the experiment is having an adverse effect, I shall stop the proceedings.
You're quite
You
so.
understand that, Nurse?
Oh, yes, Doctor.
Quite so, quite so. I shouldn't expect anything else. You don't think it's too risky, do you?
If I thought it was too risky, I should not permit the experiment. Mrs. Wingfield's condition is mainly psychological, a result of a severe shock. Her temperature, heart and pulse are now normal. Nurse, you are already acquainted with the family. Go down to the waiting room and bring them up here. If they ask you any questions, please be strictly non-committal in your answers.
Yes, Doctor.
Well, here we go.
Yes.
Let's hope we have luck. Have any of them been allowed to see her?
Her husband, naturally, and also her brother and sister for a few minutes. The nurse assigned to look over her here, Nurse Cartwright, was present all the time. Miss Jackson has not visited Mrs. Wingfield, nor asked to do so.
Quite so. You'll give them a preliminary little talk, will you? Put them in the picture.
Certainly, if you wish. I see that Mrs. Wingfield fell from a second-story balcony.
Yes. Yes, she did.
Remarkable, really, that she wasn't killed. Head contusions, dislocated shoulder, and fracture of the left leg. afternoon, Miss Ross. Will you sit down? Mr. Ross.
You sent for us.
Good afternoon, Mr. Wingfield.
It's not my wife. There's not bad news.
No, Mr. Wingfield, no bad news.
Thank God for that. I thought when you sent for us that she'd had a turn for the worse.
There is no change of any kind, neither for the worse, nor, alas, for the better.
Is my sister still unconscious?
She is still completely paralysed. She cannot move or speak.
It's terrible, simply terrible.
Was Miss Jackson with you?
Yeah, she was following us. Dr. Ginsberg, my secretary, Miss Jackson.
Good afternoon.
Poor Jenny. What an awful thing to happen to anybody. Sometimes I feel she would have been better off killed outright by the fall.
No, anything but that.
I know what you mean, Brian, but it's a living death, isn't it, Doctor?
There's still some hope for your sister, Mr. Ross.
But she won't stay like this. I mean, she'll get better, won't she?
In cases of this kind, it is often difficult to forecast the progress of a patient. Injuries will heal, yes. The bones will knit. The dislocation has already been reduced. The wounds in the head are nearly healed.
Then why shouldn't she get well? Why shouldn't she be better in every way?
You are touching there on a field in which we are still ignorant. Mrs. Wingfield's state of paralysis is due to shock.
The result of her accident?
Her accident was the ostensible cause.
Just what do you mean by ostensible?
Mrs. Wingfield must have suffered unusual fears as she fell from the balcony. It is not so much her physical injuries, but something in her mind that has produced this state of complete paralysis.
You're not trying to say what the inspector has been more or less suggesting, that my wife tried to commit suicide? That I don't believe for a moment.
I never said I thought it was suicide, Mr. Wingfield.
You must have thought something like that, or you and your people wouldn't be hanging around here like vultures.
We have to be quite clear as to the cause of this accident.
My God, isn't it simple enough? She's been ill for months, feeling weak, up for the first time, or practically the first time, goes over to the window, out to the balcony, leans over, is suddenly taken giddy, and falls to the ground.
Don't get so excited, William. Don't shout.
It's all very well, Bunny, but it makes me mad, all this business. Do you really think we want the police mixing themselves up in our family affairs?
Now, Bill, don't get angry. If anyone should, it's myself, and I don't.
What have we been asked to come here for?
One moment, Miss Jackson. Miss Ross, I wish you could tell me a little more about your sister. Was she at all subject to fits of melancholy, depression?
She was always highly strung, nervous.
Oh, I wouldn't say that at all.
Men don't realise these things. I know what I'm talking about. I think it's quite possible, Inspector, that her illness had left her particularly low and depressed, and that with other things she had to worry and distress her.
Where are you going, Miss Jackson?
I'm leaving. I'm not one of the family. I'm only Mr. Winfield's secretary. I was asked to come with the others, but really I don't see the point in all of this. If all you are going to do is go on and over about the accident, whether it was an accident or an attempted suicide, well, don't see why I should stay.
But we're not going to go over and over the same thing again, Miss Jackson. We're about to make an experiment.
An experiment? What sort of experiment?
Dr. Ginsberg will explain. Sit down, Miss Jackson. Dr. Ginsberg.
I had better perhaps recapitulate what I know or have been told. Mrs. Wingfield has been suffering in the last 2 months from an illness somewhat mysterious in nature that was puzzling the doctor in attendance on her, Dr. Horsefield. This I have on the authority of Dr. Horsefield himself. She was, however, showing decided signs of improvement and was convalescent, though there was still a nurse in the house. On the day in question, exactly 10 days ago, Mrs. Wingfield got up from bed after lunch and was settled by Nurse Bond in an easy chair near the open window, it being a fine, mild afternoon. She had books beside her and a small radio. After seeing her patient had all she needed, Nurse went out for her afternoon walk as usual. What happened during the course of that afternoon is a matter of conjecture. But at 3:30, a cry was heard. Miss Ross, who was sitting in the room below, saw a falling body cross the window. It was the body of Mrs. Wingfield, who had fallen from the balcony of her room. There was no one with her at the time when she fell, but there were 4 people in the house. The 4 people who are sitting here now.
Perhaps, Mr. Wingfield, you would like to tell us, in your own words, just what happened then.
I just thought I'd been through this enough. I was in my study, marking scripts, and I heard a scream, a noise from outside, and I ran to the side door and out onto the terrace. And then I saw Jenny. Emmeline came a few moments later, and then Miss Jackson and William. And then we called for the doctor, and...
Yes, Mr. Wingfield. There's no need to go into any more. Miss Jackson, will you tell us your side of the story again?
I was looking up a reference in the encyclopedia for Mr. Wingfield. I was in the library and I heard a commotion, people running. I dropped the book and went to join the others on the terrace.
Mr. Ross?
What? Oh, I've been playing golf all morning. Always play golf on a Saturday. Came in, had a hearty lunch. I was feeling whacked. Lay down on my bed upstairs. It was Jenny's scream that woke me. I thought for a moment I must have been dreaming. Then I heard this row down below. I looked out of my window, and there she was on the terrace, with the others gathered around. Oh God, do we have to go over this again and again?
I only wanted to stress the point that nobody who was in the house can tell us exactly what happened that afternoon. Nobody, that is, except Mrs. Wingfield herself.
Somebody ought to have been with her. I blame myself for leaving her alone.
But she was supposed to rest in the afternoon, Brian. That was part of the doctor's orders. We were all going to join her at 4:30 for tea. But she was supposed to rest every afternoon from 3 o'clock until then.
Miss Ross, the accident does seem a little difficult to explain. The railings of the balcony did not give way.
No, she got giddy and overbalanced. I leant over myself to test afterwards, and it could easily happen.
Mrs. Wingfield is a very small woman. It would not be so easy for her to overbalance, even if she was taking giddy.
I hate to say it, but I think you're right in what you suspect. I think poor Jenny was worried and troubled in her mind. I think a fit of depression came over her.
You keep trying to say that she tried to commit suicide. I don't believe it. I won't believe it.
She had plenty to make her depressed.
What do you mean by that?
I think you know quite well what I mean. I am not blind, Brian.
Oh my God, you've got an evil mind, Emmeline. My wife did not commit suicide. She wouldn't do that.
it was an accident. Miss Ross is just trying to.
Yes, what am I trying to do?
It's women like you that write anonymous letters, poison pen letters, just because no man's ever looked at you.
How dare you!
Leave my... Oh my God. Cut it out, both of you. Why don't you?
I think we're all getting rather overexcited and talking about things that are actually not relevant. What we need to understand, surely, is what was Jenny's state of mind on the day that she fell. Well, I'm her husband and I know her very well, and she did not try to commit suicide.
Because you don't want to think so. You don't want to feel responsible.
Responsible? Responsible for what?
Driving her to what she did.
It's
What
not
do you mean by that?
Please, please, when I asked you to come here, it was not my object to provoke recrimination.
What? I'm not so sure. What do you mean by that?
No, what I had in mind was to conduct an experiment.
You've already told us that, but you haven't told us what type of experiment.
As Inspector Cray said just now, only one person knows what happened that afternoon. Mrs. Wingfield herself.
And she can't tell us. It's too bad.
She will when she's better.
I don't think you quite appreciate the medical position, Miss Ross. It may be months, it may even be years before Mrs. Wingfield comes out of this state.
I don't quite understand what you're driving at, Doctor.
Yes, Mr. Wingfield. There have been those who have gone blind as a result of shock and have not recovered their sight for 15 or 20 years.
Surely.
There have been those paralysed and unable to walk for the same period of time. Sometimes another shock precipitates recovery, but there's no fixed rule. Ring the bell, please. Nurse, would you mind?
Jenny! Jenny, darling!
What's going on? What is she trying to do?
Mrs. Wingfield, as I have told you, is completely paralysed. She cannot move or speak. But we are all agreed that she knows what happened to her on that day.
She's unconscious. You said she might be unconscious for years.
I did not say unconscious. Mrs. Wingfield cannot move or speak, but she can see and hear. And I think it highly probable that her mind is as keen as ever it was. She knows what happened. She would like to communicate it to us, but unfortunately she can't do so.
You think she can hear us? You think she can understand us and know what we're feeling?
I think she knows.
Jenny! Jenny, darling! Can you hear me? I know it's been terrible for you, but it's going to be all right.
Answer?
Ready when you are, sir.
I said that Mrs. Wingfield could not communicate with us, but it is possible that a way has been found. Dr. Salzbergen, who has been attending her and is a specialist on this form of paralysis, became aware of a very slight power of movement in the fingers of her left hand. It is very slight, hardly noticeable. She could not raise her arm or lift anything, but she can very slightly move the two fingers and thumb of her left hand. Miss Manson here has fixed up a certain apparatus of an electrical nature. You see, there is a small rubber bulb. When that bulb is pressed, a red light appears on top of the apparatus. The slightest pressure will operate it. If you please, Manson. Nurse, uncover the patient's left arm. Answer. Between the thumb and two fingers. Gently. Now I'm going to ask Mrs. Wingfield some questions.
You can't possibly put any reliance on what might just be muscular spasms.
I think we can soon find out whether Mrs. Wingfield can answer questions or not.
I won't have it. It's dangerous. It'll set her recovery back. I won't allow it.
Brian,
Mrs. Wingfield's health will be fully safeguarded, I assure you. Nurse, at least sign of collapse, you know what to do.
Yes, Doctor.
I don't like this. I don't like it.
I'm sure you don't like it.
Do you?
I think it might be interesting.
I don't believe
Quiet, quiet, please. We must have absolute quiet. The doctor is about to begin.
Mrs. Wingfield, you have had a very narrow escape from death and are now on the way to recovery. Your injuries are healing. We know that you are completely paralysed and cannot move or speak. Now what I want is this. If you understand what I am saying to you, try and move your fingers so that you press the bulb. Will you do so? Good. You have been understanding what we have been saying to you, Mrs. Wingfield? Thank you. Now what I propose is this. If the answer to a question is yes, you will press the bulb once. If the answer to is no, you will press it twice. Do you understand? Good. Now, Mrs. Wingfield, what is the signal for no? I think, then, it must be clear to all of you that Mrs. Wingfield can understand what I'm saying and can reply to my questions. Now, I'm going back to the afternoon of Saturday the 14th. Do you have a clear recollection of what happened that afternoon? Good. As far as possible, I will try and ask you questions that will save you too much fatigue. I am assuming, therefore, that you had lunch, got up, and nurse here settled you in a chair by the open window. You were alone in your room and were supposed to rest until 4:30. Am I correct? Did you, in fact, sleep a little? And then you woke up. You went out onto the balcony. You leant over. You lost your balance and fell. You fell, but you did not lose your balance. Mrs. Wingfield, we have come to the point where you have to tell us what happened. I am going to say over the letters of the alphabet. When I come to the letter of the word you want, will you press the bulb? I'll begin. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. P. You have given me the letter P. I'm going to hazard a guess. I want you to tell me if I am right. Is the word in your mind pushed?
No, it can't be true.
What the hell?
This is iniquitous.
Quiet, please. I cannot have the patient agitated. Mrs. Wingfield, you obviously have more to tell us. I'm going to spell again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. M. The letter M is probably followed by a vowel. Which vowel, Mrs. Wingfield? A, E, I, O, U, M, U? Is the next letter R? Mrs. Wingfield, are you trying to tell us that what happened that afternoon was not an accident? Are you trying to tell us it was attempted murder?
It's incredible.
This is nonsense.
She doesn't know what she's saying.
I think she does.
Mrs. Wingfield, did some unknown person come in from outside and attack you? Was it someone in the house who pushed you?
Doctor, her pulse is quickening.
Not much further. We must have the name.
Mrs. Wingfield, do you know who pushed you? Good. I'm going to spell out the name. Do you understand? A, B. B, is that right?
Doctor, she's collapsed.
Is she
It's
all
no
right?
good. I daren't go on.
Is
No.
she all right? I forbid you to go on
She'll
with
be
it.
all right.
I forbid
She
you.
must
It's
rest. We should be able
dangerous.
to resume in about half an hour. I think you must allow me to be the best judge of that. We'll move Mrs. Wingfield up near the window. She'll be all right there.
There's not much doubt, is there, who she meant? B. Not much doubt about that, is there, Brian?
You always hated me, Emily. You've always had it in for me. I tell you, here and now, I didn't try to kill my wife.
Do you deny you're having an affair with that woman there?
It's not true.
Don't tell me that. You were head over ears in love with him.
Oh, all right then. I did try it, but that was ages ago. He didn't really care for me. It's all over, I tell you, all over.
In that case, it seems odd you stayed on as his secretary.
I didn't want to leave him. I didn't want to go.
And perhaps you thought that if Jenny were out of the way, you'd console him very nicely and be Mrs. Wingfield number 2.
Emmeline, for heaven's sake!
Perhaps it's B for Brenda.
Oh, you horrible woman, I hate you! It's not true.
Brian and Brenda, that seems to narrow it down to one of you two, all right.
I wouldn't say that. It could quite easily be B for brother or Bill.
She always called me William.
Anyway, after all, who stands to gain most from poor Jenny's death? Not me. It's you and Emily. You get all the money.
Please, please, I can't have all this argument. Nurse, will you take me down to the waiting room?
Yes, Doctor.
We can't stay cooped up in this little room with all of us slanging each other.
You can go where you like on the hospital premises, but none of you is actually to leave the place. Is that understood?
All right.
Yes.
I have no wish to leave. My conscience is clear.
I think you did it.
What do you mean?
Well, you hate her. You've always hated her. And you and your brother, you get the money.
My name does not begin with a B, I'm thankful to say.
But it needn't. Supposing that after all, Mrs. Winfield didn't see who it was who pushed her.
She has told us that she did.
But it needn't be. Jenny was jealous of Brian and I. Oh yes, she knew about us. And she was jealous. And when that machine there gave her the opportunity to get back at us, don't you see how tempting it might be to say, Brenda pushed me? It could be true, it could be true.
Only a little far-fetched.
No, it's not. Not to a jealous woman. You don't know what jealous women are like. And she's been cooped up in that room, thinking, wondering, suspecting whether Brian and I were still carrying on with one another. Don't you see? It's not far-fetched. It could be true.
It's quite possible, you know, Inspector.
And you do hate her. I've seen you looking at her often. You loved Brian. You were half engaged to him, and then Jenny came home from abroad and she cut you out. You've never forgiven her. You always hated her. I think on that day you went into her room, you saw her leaning over the balcony, and it was too good a chance to be missed. You came up behind her and you pushed her.
Inspector, can you stop this kind of thing?
I don't know that I want to, Miss Ross. I find it all very informative.
I must insist on your leaving now. The patient must rest. We should be able to resume in 20 minutes. Nurse will take you downstairs.
Yes, doctor. Miss Ross, would you mind waiting a moment?
Well, what is it?
There are one or two questions I should like to put to you. I didn't want to embarrass your brother.
Embarrass William? You don't know him. He has no self-respect at all. Never ashamed to admit he doesn't know where to turn for the next penny.
That's very interesting, but it was your brother-in-law I thought might be embarrassed by the questions I'm about to ask you.
Brian, what do you want to know?
Miss Ross, you know the family very well. A person of your intelligence would not be deceived as to what went on in it. You know the lives of your sister and your brother-in-law and what the relations were between them. It's reasonable that up till now you would say as little as you could. But now that you know what our suspicions are and how they were confirmed only a minute or two ago, well, that alters matters.
Yes, I suppose it does. What do you want me to tell you?
This affair between Miss Jackson and Mr. Wingfield, was it serious?
Not on his part. His affairs never are.
There actually was an affair.
Of course. You heard her. She as good as admitted it.
You know it of your own knowledge?
I could tell you various details to prove it, but I do not propose to do so. You will have to accept my word for it.
It started when?
Nearly a year ago.
And Mrs. Wingfield found out that?
Yes.
And what was her attitude?
She taxed Ryan with it.
And he?
He denied it, of course. Told her she was imagining things. You know what men are. Lying their way out of anything. She wanted him to send the girl away, but he wouldn't. Said she was far too good a secretary to lose.
But Mrs. Wingfield was very unhappy about it.
Very.
Unhappy enough to want to take her own life.
Not if she'd been well and strong, but her illness got her down, you see, and she got all kinds of fancies.
Kinds of fancies, Miss Ross?
Just fancies.
Why was Mrs. Wingfield left alone that afternoon?
She preferred it. One of us always offered to sit with her, but she had her books and her radio. For some reason, she preferred to be alone.
Whose idea was it to send the nurse off duty?
In private nursing, that's standard practice. The nurse would have 2 hours off every afternoon.
Miss Jackson has told us that it was all over ages ago, referring to her affair with Mr. Wingfield. Do you say that was not so?
I think they broke with each other for a while, or possibly they were very careful. But at the time of the accident, it was on again all right. Oh, yes.
You seem very sure of that.
I lived in the house, didn't I? And I'll show you something. I hanging vase on the hall table. They used it as a postbox, it seems.
Darling, we must be careful. I think she suspects beef.
It's Brian's writing, all right. So you see...
Do you mind if I ask a question or two?
No, please do, Doctor.
Miss Ross, I'm interested in those fancies you mentioned. You had some particular fancy in mind, I think.
Just the sick woman's imaginings. She was ill, you see, and she felt she wasn't making the progress she should have done.
And she thought there was a reason for that?
She was just upset.
She thought there was a reason for that.
Well, yes.
She thought those two were poisoning her. That's it, isn't it?
Yes.
She said so to you?
Yes.
And what did you say?
I told her. It was all nonsense, of course.
Did you take any steps yourself?
I don't know what you mean.
Did you discuss it with the doctor attending her? Take any samples of food?
No, of course not. It was just a sick woman's fancy.
Well, it happens, you know, far more often than is known. The symptoms of arsenic poisoning, it's almost always arsenic, are practically indistinguishable from gastric disorders.
Brian couldn't. He just couldn't.
It might have been the girl.
Yes. Yes, I suppose so. Well, we will never know now.
Well, you're quite wrong there, Miss Ross. There are ways of telling. Traces of arsenic can be found in the hair, you know, and in the fingernails.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it of Brian. Do you want me any longer, Inspector?
I'll keep this. It's evidence.
Yes, of course.
Well, we got something.
Yes, from the meeting vase in the hall. Interesting.
It's his writing?
Oh, yes. It's Brian Wingfield's writing, all right. You know, he was quite a one for the ladies. Bowled them over like nine pins.
It doesn't strike me as a Casanova type. Writes all those historical novels. Very erudite.
There's quite a lot of dirt in history.
So, it wasn't all over.
Get four people all het up and accusing each other. Get an embittered woman on her own and invite her to spill the beans. It gives you some material to work on, doesn't it?
In addition to what you had already, what did you have?
I went into the financial angle. Just some good solid facts. Brian Wingfield's a poor man. His wife's a rich woman. Her life is insured in favour of him. Not for a very large sum, but it would enable him to marry again if he wanted to. Her money came to her in trust. If she dies childless, it's divided between her brother and sister. The brother's a wastrel, always trying to get money out of his rich sister. According to Brian, she told her brother she wasn't going to pay for him anymore. But I dare say she would have done in the end.
So, which is it? B for Brian, B for Brenda, B for Brother Bill, or Emmeline without a B?
Emmeline without him. Wait a minute. Something I heard this afternoon while they were all here. Look, it's gone.
Could it be B for Bert?
No, that's definitely out. We've conclusive evidence on that point. The road was up in front of the house and there was a constable on duty there. Both the side and front gate were directly under his eye. Nobody entered or left the house that afternoon.
You know, you asked me to cooperate, but you were very careful not to lay all your cards on the table. Come on. What do you think?
It's not a question of thinking. I know.
What?
I may be wrong, but I do think so. You think it over. You've got 7 minutes.
Huh? Oh! Thank you for your help, Mrs. Wingfield. We come now to the crucial moment in the experiment.
Mrs. Wingfield, we are about to leave you here, apparently unguarded. None of the suspects knows that you regained your powers of speech yesterday. They don't know that you did not in fact see who pushed you off that balcony. Do you realise what that means?
One of them will try to...
Someone will almost certainly enter this room.
Are you sure you want to go through with this, Mrs. Wingfield?
Yes, I must know who.
Don't be afraid. We shall be close at hand. If anyone approaches you or touches you.
I know what to do.
Thank you, Mrs. Wingfield. You're a wonderful woman. Just be brave a few moments longer and we shall trap our killer. Trust us, both of us.
Ready? Why don't you come into my office? In view of the poisoning suggestion, you might like to look over the files.
Yes, I'd like another look at those X-ray plates too, if I may.
Help! Help!
It's all right, Mrs. Wingfield. We're here.
Help! Murder!
It's all right.
There!
She's all right.
Oh,
Thank you, Mrs. Wingfield. You've been very brave.
thank you, Mrs. Wingfield. Oh, the killer has played right into our hands. That note in the Ming vase was all I needed. Brian Wingfield would hardly need to send secret notes to a secretary he saw every day. That note was for someone else. And that constable on duty, he swears, nobody else entered or left the house that afternoon. So it seems you didn't go for your off-duty walk that day. You may come out from behind that curtain now. Dust bomb.
Am I in the picture as well?
Yes. What are you thinking? Where are you at? The wheelchair, sir.
So if you don't get in the wheelchair, do you? No, okay.
Three, two, one. Nice.
Shall in our hearts more sweetly sing and love whatever hearts may desire, whatever life may send. This is a tale that never will tire. This is the song without end. Love is the strongest thing, the oldest, yet the latest thing. I only hope that fate may bring love's story to you. Love is the sweetest thing.
All head up and accusing each other. Get an embittered woman on her own and invite her to spill the beans. It gives one some material to work on, doesn't it?
In addition to what you had already, what did you have?
Just some good solid facts. I went into the financial angle. Brian Wingfield's a poor man. His wife's a rich woman. Her life's insured in favour of him. Not for a very large sum, but it will enable him to marry again if he wanted to. Her money came to her in a trust. If she dies childless, it's divided between her brother and sister. Her brother's a wastrel, always trying to get money out of his rich sister. According to Brian, she told her brother that she wasn't going to